Well, hello and good morning, everybody. My name is Tony McDowell. I'm the Executive Director for the Opioid Abatement Authority, and I'd like to welcome you to this installment of the OAA's Abatement Academy. So the Abatement Academy is a series of webinars that we put on to present best practices in opioid and substance use abatement strategies, and to highlight efforts that are being funded with opioid settlement dollars across Virginia. Our speakers generously give of their time and expertise to present these sessions. They do it voluntarily. So a big shout out to all of our speakers that have joined prior Abatement Academies as well as today's. Like all of the Abatement Academy webinars, today's session is being recorded, and both the recording and the actual PowerPoint presentation will be uploaded to the OAA website once we're finished today. And then an email will be sent out to everyone who registered, providing a link to those materials. During today's webinar, if you have any questions or comments, please type them into the Q&A box. And then as moderator, I will screen the questions and pose them to the presenters either during the session or near the end. Today's presentation is going to focus on the topic of defining the roles for law enforcement in school-based prevention programs. And more specifically, we're going to be hearing about these efforts in the city of Virginia Beach. So at this time, I'd like to give a quick introduction of our two speakers, and I'll start with Mr. Jim Thornton. Jim, if you could wave to everybody. Jim's a licensed professional counselor with 32 years of experience working with emotionally disturbed youth and their families. He began his career in private practice in Lynchburg before serving as an intensive community services director for Horizon Behavioral Health, where he oversaw multiple programs, including the state's fully functioning mobile crisis team for children and adolescents. He later helped to establish a regional youth crisis stabilization program. And in 2012, Jim became clinical services administrator for the City of Virginia Beach's Child and Youth Behavioral Health Division, securing funding for youth crisis services and launching the Youth Mobile Crisis Intervention Program in 2013. The CYBH outpatient clinic operates a trauma-informed clinic serving highly traumatized youth. He earned his bachelor's in psychology in 1994 and master in community counseling in 2002 from Lynchburg College. So thank you, Jim, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
And then our other speaker is Lieutenant Kevin Lokey, who is the commanding officer of the Virginia Beach Police Department Youth Services Unit. And as you're going to hear about in a moment, this is a very unique and maybe one of its kind program in Virginia. And so Lieutenant Lokey commands that unit and manages the police department's youth outreach and engagement efforts, overseeing school resource officer programs, and he serves as the primary liaison with the Virginia Beach City Public Schools, juvenile courts, juvenile detention center, and court services unit. He brings more than 22 years of law enforcement experience and 25 years in public safety. Lieutenant Lokey also chairs the Juvenile Justice Committee, Parent Advisory Committee, Youth Advisory Committee, and oversees a court improvement panel, Public Safety School Task Force, the Virginia Beach Police Athletic League Board. He holds a bachelor's in psychology and human services from Old Dominion University and a master's degree in public administration from Regent University. And he is a graduate of the Professional Executive Leadership School. So Lieutenant Lokey, thank you so much for joining us. And so with no further ado, and with that as an introduction, folks, I will turn it over to Lieutenant Lokey and to Mr. Thornton.
Thank you so much, Tony.
Okay. We've already covered that. So, Jim?
All right. So in Virginia Beach, our setup is a little bit different than probably most of the localities around the state. In Virginia Beach, I'm part of the Department of Human Services. And under that umbrella for the city, we have social services. We have what would be considered in other areas a community services board. Actually, our juvenile detention is under the Department of Human Services in the city as well. So as a licensed counselor, the Child and Youth Behavioral Health Division would basically be the child portion of any CSB that you might find across the state. And the city decided when we first started getting opioid abatement funds available, back in 2022, I think is when the funding first started. that Human Services would manage all of that funding for the city. So as you guys are probably aware, there's multiple pots of opioid abatement funds. You have, each locality has their own direct distribution. And then we have the individual distribution and the gold standard incentive that's offered as well. So the project that we're going to be talking mainly about today was funded out of our individual distribution funds, and along with the gold standard funds. We actually had 6 projects that we submitted applications for in FY25 that involved a lot of different departments across the city. So Human Services helped manage that, but then a lot of these departments had their own actual applications, which is also the case for Lieutenant Lokey's unit. So to start off, we did a lot of town hall meetings, stakeholder meetings. We met with various different department leadership, from the police to the schools, EMS, all the things that you can see listed there. And it was especially noted in the town halls when we actually had pretty good public turnout when we did these town halls. We did them at our convention center. We did them in other places around the city. And it was a very common theme that we needed to start as early as possible as for our prevention and intervention and education types of programs, to be able to start working with youth. That it was expressed a lot that by the time you have an adult that's already addicted to opioids, we've missed the bus. We're too late. So we really took that to heart, and almost all of our projects under individual distribution and the gold standard incentive are almost all focused on working with youth. So Lieutenant Lokey, he's going to handle the bulk of this presentation, and he's going to run you through a lot more detail on how we selected the lead program that we're going to be talking to you about. But at the time we were in the planning stages, and like I said, we submitted these applications for FY25. We're into our second year now with FY26 funding. But at the end of FY24, the City of Virginia Beach, for individual distribution and the gold standard incentive combined, we had about $1.2 million available. And so that first year that we submitted for those grants, we submitted around $635,000 combined between the 6 different projects. So we can go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, Lieutenant Lokey actually was the one that found the LEAD program, stands for Law Enforcement Against Drugs and Violence. And one thing that's required is that we have something that's evidence-based. So, there's been drug intervention programs in schools in the past that were delivered by police, sheriffs, types of units. And unfortunately, those ones historically didn't necessarily have a lot of evidence base. They weren't able to demonstrate that after going through these types of courses or interventions or classes, that it really actually impacted decision making in the future. The nice thing about LEAD is it has a very strong evidence base, and we'll get back into that in a little bit as well. But this is the main program that we're going to be talking to you guys about today. All right. So as we mentioned, law enforcement against drugs and violence, it's more than just saying no to drugs. LEAD actually offers curriculum to really help build critical thinking skills. There's an anti-bullying, anti-violence component to it. It focuses on skill building, and you can actually combine the different curriculums, because they're actually there's law enforcement against drugs, and then there's law enforcement against violence, and you can actually combine those and teach them together. Each of them are considered a 10-week curriculum course, but when you combine them, you can do them both together in 15 weeks. Another nice thing about LEAD is it's designed to be taught in the schools, but both teachers and law enforcement officers can be trained and actually co-facilitate the classes together if they would like to. And Lieutenant Lokey is going to walk you through, because we've already been facilitating and delivering these trainings for probably about a year now, I would say, with the work you've been doing in the community after school setting. the curriculum is grade specific. So you can have elementary age curriculum, you can get middle school curriculum. It's very much grade specific. And the cost is, in my opinion, very, very reasonable. So I think on the next slide, we talk about the fact that there's kits available that you will get that deliver the curriculum to you. And the kits are actually like under $300. Another thing I will just mention real quick that I'm sure Lieutenant Lokey will hit as well. The leadership for the LEAD program is very invested and eager to be able to help communities be able to start this program. And in fact, they were so eager for us to start in Virginia Beach that they offered to like gift us a lot of the curriculum in order to be able to start the program. To the point I was like, wait, we need to use some grant money too. Like we need to be able to spend this money. That was on a quick side note, that was one of my concerns is we have all of a sudden a lot of this money flowing in, and it'd be a shame if I was responsible for not being able to spend it. So we were definitely looking for good quality programs to be able to use. I think when we started, LEAD stated they were in about maybe 25 or 30 states, and now they're up in 49 out of 50 states. So they've been growing over the past few years, and I think there's very good reason why. So we mentioned about the lesson programs that can be combined, the fact that it focuses on a lot more than just saying no, the skill building, the teaching of skills. It's delivered in fun, interactive ways. I know for a fact kids really enjoy being able to interact with law enforcement officers, with police officers. A lot of times, especially on the younger ages, it's a lot of kids want to grow up and be a police officer or a fireman or different things like that. So I think it's always just kind of extra engaging when you're able to have a law enforcement officer come in and really personally get to know the kids and be able to work with them. So I think we have been seeing really, really good responses from the kids that have participated in this already. Of course, evidence-based is a big thing on the mental health side of the world. Almost everything we tried to deliver needs to be shown to have been effective. And the LEAD program had an evaluation conducted a couple of years ago by third-party researchers. They did pre-test, post-test, follow-up, and 1-year follow-up. And as I've mentioned already, it was very much shown to be effective in changing the way drug use, violence, bullying is perceived, not only at the time of the lesson, but also even up to a year later. And the lessons and education related to opioid and other types of drug use seems to stick much better with this program than some of the ones that we might have seen a couple of decades ago. If law enforcement officers are concerned that they might not be professional speakers or professional teachers or professional trainers, the LEAD curriculum comes with fully scripted lessons. So it literally can guide you word for word what you need to do as you go through. Of course, there's flexibility for you to be able to make it your own and engage with a variety of different activities. Another nice thing is there's a parent component. And I know Lieutenant Lokey will speak about the success he's already experienced in some of the programming that they've done in an after-school setting. The program kits, like I said, pretty cheap, in my opinion, but they come with the teacher manual, the scripted lessons, the student workbook, the activities, the evaluation instruments, everything that you need, and they come specific to the different grade levels. So if, for example, here in Virginia Beach, we're going to be starting in the middle schools and in our high school alternative school setting. So, we're able to purchase those different kits. One kit is really all you need to be able to teach the entire 10 to 15 week lessons. So, and as I mentioned, I think it's a very reasonably priced. The trainings also, I thought were pretty reasonable. We were able to fund all of that out of our opioid abatement grant. One other thing we did with this grant for the police department, in addition to the training for LEAD, the purchasing of the curriculum is we also purchase a community engagement vehicle for the police department, the youth services unit, and a trailer. So they're able to attend a lot of different community events, provide drug prevention and education information. And we're actually hoping in the near future that they'll actually be able to deliver Narcan out of that engagement vehicle as well. So without any further ado, I'll turn it over to the real star of the show, who is Lieutenant Kevin Lokey.
Okay, good morning, and thank you for allowing me to present to y'all. I think my camera went blurry for some reason, but anyway. So before I continue with the presentation, I want to provide a little bit of background and information on my unit, the Youth Services Unit. We formed this unit in January of 2023 to really engage with the youth. And we serve a few different purposes. One is to build positive relationships between law enforcement officers and the youth in the community, reduce crimes committed by juveniles, and also recruit future officers. So we have a number of programs that are designed to do just that. We have 2 programs that serve as recruitment tools for the department, and we have a number of programs that are out there to engage the youth, give them a voice in their community, and allow officers to interact in a positive manner. So we're a small unit. It's only 5 of us in this unit, but we do a lot of work. We stay busy. So when this opportunity presented itself, we jumped on board. I also oversee our school resource officer program. We have 85 schools in Virginia Beach in the public school system, and we have 28 SROs who are assigned to those schools, and they're in the schools every day. So we wanted to make sure that we found a good program, to get into the schools and to help teach these kids. So as Jim mentioned, we found the lead program and thought it was a great program and went with it. So picking up on where Jim left off is the curriculum. So this is the 6th grade curriculum. This is what we're primarily teaching in Virginia Beach, and this is the weekly topics. So we start off with setting goals. We want to make sure that everything that they learn in the following weeks ties back into their goals, so they can keep their sights on their life goals. Go into making decisions, managing their emotions, communication, relationships. That's the core lessons. So when Jim mentioned that the Too Good for Drugs and the Too Good for Violence are 10 weeks, the first 5 weeks are those core lessons. So, and it's really important to teach those core lessons, because that's where a lot of our issues come from. Fights and the violence and everything is, these kids not being able to communicate effectively, not being able to regulate their emotions, and making poor decisions. So once we get through those first few weeks, we get into alcohol, nicotine, THC, and marijuana, prescription and OTC medication, and then street drugs. Each lesson is about 45 minutes to an hour long. As Jim mentioned, there is a script, and it is literally a script. If you read the script, you'll be just fine. If you have a little bit of extra time and you want to ad lib and expand on topics, you're welcome to do so. But you can get through a class just by reading the script. But each of these is about 45 minutes to an hour. If you really need to get through it, stick to the script. If you have a little bit of time, you can ad lib. And then the social perspectives for the 6th grade goes into respect for self and others, conflict resolution. Again, a very key topic for addressing some of the violent situations we find these youth involved in. Anger management, again, to address these issues. Bullying situations, which anyone who has kids in school or has had kids in schools know that bullying is a real issue. And then finally, media violence, and that covers social media and things they see on TV and in the movies. So a bit of a timeline to kind of show you how we got to where we are. We're going to go through month by month and kind of go over what we did. Jim, feel free to jump in if there's anything that I miss. So starting in February of 2024, this is when we shared the information that we had obtained for LEAD with the school's Director of Student Support Services. They liked the LEAD program and our plans to implement it, so they were receiving $15,000 of their own funds to go towards youth drug education, and they decided to put that $15,000 with ours so that we could purchase LEAD. We had Zoom meetings with our LEAD regional director, John Finkel. When Jim says that the LEAD leadership is very helpful, that's actually an understatement. Everyone I've dealt with LEAD, especially Mr. Finkel, has been extremely helpful, available. They'll call you, email you, always available. So we had no issues with getting LEAD implemented. Mr. Finkel is up in New Jersey. He actually drove down here, met with us here in my office to go over what it was going to look like to get LEAD in Virginia Beach. Moving on to March, we actually, as Jim mentioned, we learned that we could use the funds to purchase a vehicle and a trailer to use for community engagement and the drug prevention education. And we also added some swag merchandise with anti-drug messaging on it to the plan. In April, we also added a mascot so that we could really interact with the younger kids. We want to have materials and things to attract kids of all ages. So we figured a mascot would be a great way to interact with the younger kids. We settled on the Scruff McGruff. If you recognize the last name, yes, there is a relation. That is McGruff the crime dog's nephew. So we decided to go with that purchase. I met with my chief for approval, and we started receiving quotes for the vehicles. We selected the Ford Expedition based on input from our city garage and their preference on brand and the ability to tow a trailer. So as Jim mentioned earlier, LEAD is a 501c3, and to get us started by the end of 2024, they offered to donate the initial training and materials to us to get us going. So we began identifying officers for that initial training, and we pretty much settled on school resource officers and the youth services unit officers. In May of 2024, we began working on the wrap designs for the vehicle. We want something to be to get attention. So not just our regular design that you see on every patrol vehicle in the city. We wanted something that was flashy, that really got attention. So we started working on some wrap designs. We probably went through probably 10 to 12 different designs before we really found one. We also had to finalize a memorandum of understanding, or an MOU, to receive the LEAD donation, and that's per our city policy. So we had to get our finance department on board, LEAD, obviously, my police chief, our city attorney, and the city manager all had to agree and sign that MOU before we could receive that donation. In July 2024, we completed the initial application for all of the projects under OAA to get approval from the city manager and city council for the year one. It was a total of $140,000 for all of the police projects. So that was $90,000 for the SUV, the trailer, and the Scruff mascot. $30,000 for the LEAD curriculum. Again, $15,000 from the schools, $15,000 from PD, and then $20,000 for the swag. In year two, it was $30,000 for any ongoing vehicle expenses, to purchase equipment, and then for more swag. So August 2024, we finally settled on a final wrap design for our Ford Expedition, and that's it right there. Because it had to tie into drug education, we put the LEAD logo and the LEAD mascot on the vehicle itself. October 2024, we sent 26 of our SROs and my youth services unit officers to the 2-day LEAD training here in Virginia Beach. The LEAD sent 2 instructors to us, and we had a blast. I can honestly tell you, I've been a cop going on 23 years now. I've been through a lot of training. Hands down, that was the best, most fun we've had in training. I think we laughed the entire 2 days. Very laid back class. It was a lot of fun. Because it is a K through 12 program, we have to learn, the K through 12 and not just focus on 6th grade. So if you look in those pictures, you'll see some puppets. So we get to play with puppets and do voices and everything. So it was a lot of fun just to be able to kind of kick back and have fun while learning. And that's the same type of atmosphere that these kids have when they're learning the material. So also in October, we submitted the applications, the official applications for all of the projects under OAA. In November, we decided, because we weren't to the point where we were going to be teaching LEAD in the schools, but we wanted to get it started by the end of the year. So in November of 2024, we hosted what we called LEAD and board games, and this was made available to middle school students, and it was held in the evenings at our law enforcement training academy every Wednesday. And what we would do is we would have the kids come in. We would do a lesson for 45 minutes to an hour, and then they could go next door, and we had snacks for them, and we would play board games. So everything from Uno, as you see there, to Connect Four and Monopoly and all that good stuff. We had 10 middle school students who attended, and this was a great opportunity for us to practice our skills with the new material as well. What was interesting with this program was the very first night we welcomed all the kids and their parents into the building, and I let the parents know that you can either drop your kids off and come back in an hour and a half. You can sit in your car and play on your phone, or you can come down the hall and we'll teach your own class, because we had enough kids and we had enough instructors. So we'll have a class for you, and that way you can understand what your kids are learning. You'll learn the lingo, and you can have discussions on the drive home about what they've learned, so that you have that connection and can build upon the lessons. And surprisingly, every single parent took us up on that offer and went through the class, and they completed every single class for the entire program. Keep in mind, this was a 6th grade curriculum, and the parents acted like 6th graders. They were in there laughing and joking and having fun, and it was a lot of fun to teach them, and I think they really enjoyed it. So that was our first taste of teaching the LEAD class. In December of 24, we found out that all of our project applications were approved by OAA, and we went ahead and created a budget code with the city finance to track all OAA related expenses. January, received the funds. Again, $90,000 for the SUV trailer and mascot, $30,000 for LEAD, and $20,000 for swag. We also we have a youth police academy that's for high school students, and it runs for about 18 weeks starting in January, and it's to give high school students exposure to our department and everything that we have to offer, along with some basic law classes. We added the LEAD curriculum to that program, so the high school students actually completed the entire high school curriculum for LEAD, and that started in January and ran through May. So in February 25, we were able to order the Expedition and the trailer. We met with school leaders to discuss which schools we would like to put the LEAD program in starting in the 25-26 school year. And we decided on 4 middle schools. There's 13 middle schools in Virginia Beach. And we decided on 4 of them to start with this year, adding 4 more the following year, and then the rest the following year. We decided on 6th grade because that's where we start to see some issues with students. So once they get out of elementary and they're in middle school, we start to see some issues. So we wanted to get to them as early as possible. It's not really possible with elementary schools, being that there's 55 elementary schools in the city, and there's not much space in the curriculum for elementary schools. What's nice and very conveniently timed was the middle schools implemented a 50-minute Thrive block this school year, which is basically like a study block where there's no instruction. And so we're taking advantage of that time this school year to be able to teach the LEAD classes. In March of 25, we went ahead and scheduled the LEAD training for the rest of the police staff, along with the school staff from those middle schools. Scheduled two-day courses in August, again at our academy building, and we went ahead and identified the school staff who would attend the training. As Jim mentioned, it's nice. This program is nice because it allows both law enforcement and school staff to teach the class. So we really want police teaching it. However, we know that our job as police officers is not really predictable. So if the SRO or another officer is teaching the class and something happens and they're called away, this allows the teacher to jump in and take over the class. And since there's a script, they literally pick it up right where the officer left off. In April, submitted the renewal application for the OAA funds that we would receive on July 1st, and we received our trailer. So that's our trailer. In July of 25, we had it wrapped, and we also taught our, so my unit runs 3 summer camps for youth, ages 10 through 17, and we taught LEAD in all 3 summer camps for a total of 60 students. So they received the entire LEAD curriculum. Each day they had a different topic, and it was fun. One thing I don't think we mentioned with LEAD, with the curriculum, is that there's games. So it's not just talking, and there's no PowerPoint. It's very interactive. So there's actually board games, there's skits. They actually get up out of their seats and they walk around the classroom. So it's not just a boring lecture that they're going through. They're actually getting to interact with the instructor and with each other. So in July, we also ordered merchandise, and the swag that we purchased, we wanted to target a variety of ages. So we ordered notepads and highlighters and whatnot with drug messaging on them for high school students, fidget spinners with drug messaging for the middle school age. We have coloring books and activity books and crayons for the younger kids, and there's drug lessons in there and whatnot. LEAD squeeze balls, hand sanitizers are very, very popular. We utilized our youth advisory committee, the teens on that committee, and that allows us to kind of bounce ideas off these teens and get feedback before we do anything. We presented to them, that, hey, we're ordering this swag, give us some ideas on what we should order. They told us what not to order, and they told us what we should order. If you're ordering swag, I can tell you the teens told us do not order sunglasses. They won't wear them. The drawstring bags, they said they won't use them. Hand sanitizers, they told us to order, and sure enough, they have been a huge hit. Pens have been huge, and we have these little little notepads with different color stickies and whatnot. Those are also really popular. So the teens were spot on with what they told us to order. So we put out that merchandise at every event that we go to. So the equipment that we ordered to build out the trailer, we got speakers, tables, some games, cabinets to mount inside the trailer, and it gives us the ability to store all of our swag. So we basically roll up to an event, open up that trailer, and we can basically put everything out, and it's very, very nice not having to carry everything around and lug everything. It's all self-contained in that trailer. And I have pictures coming up in a few slides. So in August of 25, we taught, we had the 2 lead courses taught for the school and police personnel. And we also rolled out the trailer for its debut at National Night Out in early August. And there's Scruff with a few of our patrol aides, and you can see the trailer opened up and whatnot. So the one, let me go back. The one cool thing about the trailer is that we have a freezer. Excuse me, we have a freezer in there, and we have freeze pops. And the freezer's on a hand truck, and we keep it plugged in our office, and we take it out to the trailer when we're rolling out, plug it into the trailer, and there's a generator, and we hand out freeze pops to kids, and that's a way to get them to come up and talk to us, interact with us, get some of the literature. The bottom right picture on the slide, if you look at the left door of that trailer, that's all drug messaging back there. There's a chart that talks about, is it pill or candy? It talks about different resources available for anyone who needs help with any addiction or whatnot. So we want to get the kids up there, to interact with us and learn something. September of 2025, we distributed all the lead kits to the 4 SROs who would be teaching it in their schools, and we also received our expedition. So October 2025, we had it wrapped finally. So there she is, and it's an awesome car actually. But we get a lot of comments from the public and from coworkers. It's definitely a pretty vehicle, and it gets your attention. We also started holding planning meetings with the school leadership on when we were going to roll out the lead classes, and we decided the second semester of this school year, which will be the first week of February, is when we're going to start teaching the classes in the middle schools. This month, meeting with the school leadership to discuss teaching the lead in our Renaissance Academy, which is our alternative school. They want us to teach it to the high school kids who attend that school, and we anticipate starting those classes in January or February as well. So a number of events that we've worked with the trailer. I'm not going to read that list, but you can take a look, and we have quite the variety. Everything from National Night Out to some church events. We held a movie night. We ordered a popcorn machine along with movie screen and whatnot, and we actually held a movie night at our mountain barn and showed Hocus Pocus right before Halloween. It had about 200 people come out for that and play games and interact with us and whatnot. Gulapalooza, that brought in about 2,000 people. The Mounted Patrol Trunk or Treat brought in about 4,500 people, and we were also in the Veterans Day Parade on Tuesday with the truck and trailer. So it's definitely getting a lot of use. So we've again, a lot of events. Estimated about 4,500 adults, 5,000 elementary school students, and then close to 1,000 middle and high school students that we've interacted with our events. There's our popcorn machine right there with drug messaging on there as well. We also have I had an old Xbox So we brought an Xbox in, hooked it up to that TV, and the Xbox games, it's a racing game. That draws kids in. And while they're waiting to play, we're talking to them, we're giving them, merchandise and, really building that rapport. We also have cornhole, a large Jenga set, a giant Connect 4. I mentioned the freeze pops. We have speakers that we set up and play music. There's lights on the trailer, and then we have little photo station props for the kids to take pictures. So we're pretty much like a little party on wheels when we roll up, and it definitely draws a lot of attention. So on the left is the movie night event. There we are set up with all of our stuff. On the right, that was Ghoulapalooza, and you can see the little photo prop right there on the bottom right. More pictures from the events with the tables and the swag. There's the line for the video games. Kids playing the racing game. This was at the autism event this past weekend, and then on the right is us in the parade on Tuesday. So there's the contact for Lead. He's the regional director for Virginia. We are currently the only department in Virginia to have Lead. We're trying to bring more people on board. So if you are looking at bringing Lead to your location, John Finkel is your point of contact, and there's his information. You can also reach out to me if you have any questions about how it works with PD. I'd be happy to help. And then there is the contact information for me and Jim. So, and any questions, whether it's Lead related or youth services related, feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Lokey, Mr. Thornton, for that overview. So for our attendees, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the Q&A feature or into the chat, and I can pose those questions. And sometimes it helps for me to ask one to kind of get things started. And so I'd like to touch on the question of how we measure outcomes from these kinds of programs. And so I don't know if I guess it's probably a question for Lieutenant Lokey. Is I know the program is still very early on in development, but what are your thoughts for the future in terms of how you evaluate the impact that the program's had and its effectiveness, and has Lead shared resources with you on how to do that?
So the one nice thing about teaching it in 6th grade is it will have those kids for several years. And the SRO who teaches them in 6th grade will have them, for 6th, 7th, and 8th. So they'll be able to monitor them and see if there's any issues. We have phenomenal SROs. They're handpicked and they know all the kids in their schools. So especially if they've had them for 10 to 15 weeks teaching Lead, they'll definitely know them. So we'll be monitoring them and seeing if there's any issues, from 6th to 12th grade. So that's one easy way that we can do it in-house. I have not spoken with Lead yet about the long-term monitoring or whatnot. That's something we can definitely discuss. Excuse me, though, to gauge that success.
You'll be counting the number of kids that participate or who have been that you come into contact with and that sort of thing as far as workload measures?
Absolutely. I have a number of spreadsheets that we track every time we use the trailer, every time we use Scruff, the number of kids and adults we interact with, and then we track how many kids and age groups go through the Lead program. So we'll be able to provide all of that at any moment.
And there's also an evaluation form that comes with the kits, I believe.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, I'll ask one other question, which is, as you see this program being implemented, are there, like, if you could just picture in your mind, like where it might go if it's a big success and what you want to do in the future. Could you share any of those ideas with us about maybe what this might look like in a year or two in terms of any expansion or any changes?
So I would like to really expand. I mean, again, we started in January of 2023. When we first started, I was by myself, and we've grown a little bit, personnel wise, and now with the OAA funds, we actually have a vehicle and whatnot to. So we've already expanded. What I'd like to do is take lead and get it more places. So we have a very large homeschool population in Virginia Beach, and what I would like to do is continue those evening classes like we did with lead and board games, and have that available for the homeschool kids, and any parents. So I get a lot of calls from parents looking for resources. Their parents are going, or their kids are going down a bad path, and they're looking for some type of program to help them out. Everyone always asks for Scared Straight, and there's no Scared Straight program, but they're looking for something to help their kids, and this is a great program to do that. You saw the curriculum; it touches on all the key topics. So I'd like to have this available to parents looking for help for their kids, in addition to, like I said, the homeschool kids. I'm also talking to the superintendent from our detention center, and he's very excited about getting lead taught in detention. So in early 2026, we're going to start teaching the lead classes at the high school level over in the detention center, and they average about 60 teens in detention at any given time. So we'll probably have to do two different sessions to cover them all, because we really don't want more than 30 kids in a group. But I think that's a great way to also reach out to those kids who are sitting in detention right now.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm just pausing to see if any of our other attendees have questions. If not, I have one more for you. So what we've seen over and over again through the OAA is a lot of times the kids who take on the high risk behaviors like smoking and drinking and using substances are also the same kids who've had some pretty tough childhood adverse experiences. And I'm sure that you guys see this, and I'm sure Jim has seen a lot of it in his career. But how do the lead officers and the folks part of the lead program, is there any opportunity to identify kids that maybe are in they're experiencing some of those types of experiences, and try to connect them with other services, either for themselves or their family, to intervene and provide maybe some help and some support?
Absolutely. I mean, with the lead classes, you're going to have frequent and prolonged interaction with these kids. Again, the classes are about an hour. You're gonna see them for 10 to 15 weeks. So, and the SROs are trained on recognizing, these potential issues with the kids, and addressing them. We have a number of resources available in the city. We have a juvenile justice committee that just met yesterday, where all the resources come together quarterly. So we all know each other, and so if an SRO does identify a potential issue, they can simply reach out to any number of these resources, and if they're not sure who to call, they can call me, and I'll put them in contact with the appropriate resource. But again, it's a great way. It's a great way for these kids to interact with law enforcement. And as you mentioned, it's a phenomenal way for some of these kids to be seen when they really need to be seen and their problems recognized.
Great. Well, I don't see any other questions in the chat, and that usually is an indication that you guys did a great job of covering everything. Just a reminder for all of our attendees that we're going to be sending out an email to everybody who not just people that attended, but anybody who registered, to provide you with access to a link of this presentation, the recording, as well as the PowerPoint. And so with that, with no other questions pending, I'm going to take a moment to just thank Lieutenant Lokey and Mr. Thornton and my colleague Jenny, who helped pull all this together, for your time, for sharing information about the program. For the photos, we plan to steal some of those for the OAA's annual report. And just thank you for what you're doing. And I know in particular for Lieutenant Lokey, there's probably a lot of different assignments that you could choose from in the police division. And so I think it means a lot that you're doing what you're doing. And it might not have been what you had in mind when you took the test to be a police officer, but there's no question that you're saving lives and planting trees for the future. So congratulations to you. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And thank you for supporting the Opioid Abatement Academy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great
Thank
day.
you very much.